that library, Metal Beach Library.
Huh.
I just picked up some book and I was opening and reading, and not directly what Baba wrote, like God Speaks or Discourses, but somebody else wrote about Baba. And there Baba commented and they noted that, I don't know, it's Lord Meher. And then I was looking outside, all this wilderness and trees, and in those days, how could this Bini Avatar walk around this area? That's what I was thinking. That's what I remembered.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, that I hadn't heard any of that. I'd like to know the source of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Very good.
it's time. Let's start with a small prayer. Janice, could you do the prayer, please?
Avatar Meher Baba Kiche. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Avatar Meher Baba Kiche.
Ki Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki.
Baba Ki Jai.
Avatar Meher.
Avatar Mer Baba Ki Jai.
Jai Baba, everybody. I'm trying to match my voice with James, but can't really do it, so I'll give up. Okay. Before we commence our program, I'd like to call upon our one and only Lord Meher Baba to please come over and take on the entire proceedings of this program. Let each word spoken be as per his wish and will. Because in this world, there's nothing but him. Thank you. Today we have with us Today we have with us Jamie Newell. He first came to Meher Baba in the mid-1970s. He has written many songs for Meher Baba, including singer-song of Meher Baba, Ustad Dhanyavad. We all know these songs and we all love them. Ustad Dhanyavad and Mehra, in what manner do you... He is currently at Myrtle Beach and presenting a series of 10 virtual biographical talks on the life of Meher Baba for the Meher Spiritual Center in Myrtle Beach. Most of us have seen him perform at the Samadhi ever so often. But like it happens with all, you know, everybody knows who the president of US is, but the US president doesn't know everybody. So it's the same with James. Everybody knows James, who James is, but he doesn't know most of us. But that's the way it is. There have been many requests for many songs for James to sing, and we'll try and accommodate as many as possible. Incidentally, Jimmy Khan wants to accompany James in singing. So,
Of course.
Okay. James, it's all yours. Go ahead and take on.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Janice, for inviting me. You're both very kind, and thank you, Baba, for making it all possible. And no, I remember recently seeing a quote from Baba about he was talking to Paul Brunton and telling him, he said, "Don't you see how the telegraph and all these things are operating, and now people can communicate so quickly?" He says, "This is all for part of my advent as the avatar," and of course, so much is way more. We have way more than the telegraph going on now. And Baba said at that time it was all to accommodate spreading his message more quickly. So I guess that's what Zoom is for, and I'm grateful to Baba for that. Again, I don't have any special relationship with Baba on any more than anyone else. It's just his grace. I was asked by Sam and Janice to just say something about how I came to Baba. So I'm sure it's true. It's with many people that you have to start maybe in a past life or something. You can't even start. It's hard to know where to start because somehow Baba has been there all along, unbeknownst to us. So unbeknownst to me, Baba was put me in a family in the U.S. in a small town in Massachusetts, state of Massachusetts. And while playing with my sister, I had a very serious injury and went through a glass door and cut my arm and nearly bled to death. I nearly died. I was hospitalized for many weeks, isolated. They didn't allow parents to see children at the time. And I play, you've seen me play guitar, many of you, and I play left-handed. If you notice, people usually hold the guitar on one side, I hold it on the other side. I'm right-handed, but I hold it because of the injury on my arm. I can't really make chords with that hand, and I learned when I was just a young teenager, I learned how to turn the guitar around and play that way. So I tell you all this because with this injury, they were talking about maybe amputating my arm, and my grandmother, who was a chiropractor at the time, said, no, we'll give him lots of physical therapy and we'll work with him. And she did, and because of that, I became very close to my grandmother. I'd spend, she was a chiropractor in Woodstock, New York, and I would go there for summers. My family was very problematic things going on at home, and she would just try to get me out of the home and get me with her over the summers. And so I became very close to her is the point. And the way I came to Baba, this sounds disconnected, but it is all connected, you'll see. So the way I came to Baba is I was very, I'd quit high school, as I said, very dysfunctional, unhappy home life, and I quit school and went on the road playing music with bands. And I was doing that and using drugs and alcohol and just living at very young age, kind of a dissolute lifestyle. But at the same time, I was very interested. My grandmother had got me interested in reading spiritual books. She would sing me hymns, and she played the guitar herself, and she would interest me in spiritual topics. And so I was reading all kinds of different spiritual books. I had read the New Testament of the Christian New Testament, and I read the Dhammapada of the Buddha, and it was the sayings of the Buddha, and of course the Upanishads and the Gita. And so I was very interested in spiritual topics, and I found in a bookstore while just looking. So what had happened is while I was traveling with a band, I went into, we were staying at someone's home, and in the bathroom, over the toilet, I don't know if you've seen the Don't Worry, Be Happy poster. Rick Chapman, who's now a dear friend of mine, had made this Don't Worry, Be Happy poster. It's a picture of Baba smiling, a picture of him in front of Guru Prasad, and it says, "Don't worry, be happy, Meher Baba," underneath it. Now, I didn't realize that was Meher Baba. At that time, there were lots of posters around. There, just like they have memes on Facebook. In those days, we didn't have memes, but we had posters. People would buy a poster and hang it up on their wall, and it'd have some funny saying. And I thought this was just because it's such a nice, happy man. Someone had put this spiritual saying underneath it, "Don't worry, be happy," with some spiritual master. So I saw that, and I liked that poster, and I wanted to find that poster. And just went about my life after that. And apparently the roommate of the person we were staying with was a Baba lover, but I don't think I ever met him. So I went about my life, and every time I would go to a different town. We were traveling in bands, and I would go to a different town, and I would look and the bookstores and different places. Where can I get this poster? So I went to this one bookstore in Boston. I was in the Boston, Massachusetts area at the time, and I was looking for that poster. And I asked the person there, "Do you have that poster?" He said, "No." And I looked in the corner, down underneath, uh, just hidden in the back of this uh, corner shelf. I found these three books with a little. At the time, they had three volumes with a paper band around them, and it said it was blue color, and it said Discourses by Meher Baba. And I started, because I was interested in spiritual books, I started looking through it, and each of those books had a picture of Baba. And in the front, there's one picture of each book, and I kept going through. I was just amazed at what was in these discourses. I was just completely enthralled by what I was seeing. Just the table of contents, all the things that he covered, I'd been reading, but he seemed to bring everything together in a different way. And then at some point, as I leafed through these books, and I kept seeing this picture, and I suddenly realized that this man that I was seeing in the book, who had written this book, was the same man in the poster. And this just so astounded me. It actually frightened me. I got almost an electric shock. And I put the books down, and I kind of, you hear stories about the musts when Eric would go to try to bring them to Baba, and they'd run away. And it was kind of like that. I just ran away. I eventually went back and I got those books, and I was reading those books. But they were very powerful for me. I was just stunned with what I was reading. And while I was reading that very secretly, kind of not telling anybody, just my private reading, but being transformed as I was reading them. At the same time, my grandmother, she was getting elderly and she was ill, and she moved. I was living with my uncle at the time, and she moved into this same house. And again, we were very close. And I knew that she had a very nice translation of the Bhagavad Gita. Like I said, she's a very spiritual person and was reading a lot of different books. And I knew she had a nice translation of the Bhagavad Gita, which I wanted to read. So I went to borrow it. I asked her if I could borrow it. And she said yes. And she knew that she was not well and was dying and was trying to get rid of things. So she gave me a big stack of her books. She said, "I'm just trying to straighten up and get rid of some things." And in this stack, I looked through them, was standing with her, and I looked through it. And in the stack was a book called Sparks of the Truth by Meher Baba. And I was completely stunned that my grandmother had a book by Meher Baba. Here I was reading and having these experiences of reading Baba's books. And this person I'd been so close to, had a copy of Sparks of the Truth. And I asked, and I'd never seen this. I'd been to the Meher Baba Center in Boston, and I'd never seen any. I've seen many, many books by Baba, but never this one. So I asked her where she got it. And she said, "Well, I got it from one of my patients." I said, as I told you, she was a chiropractor in Woodstock, New York. She said one of her patients had given it to her. And I asked her, "Did you read it?" She said yes, and she said she found it very interesting. So I just didn't even know what to say. I was so amazed that she had this book. So time went on. It was very soon after that she passed away. And I had heard that meanwhile I'm reading and I'm meeting some people at the Baba Center there, but I was very reticent. I didn't like being involved with groups, and but I was very private, a kind of an introverted person, and again traveling with bands and things. So I had heard from Steve Klein, who's become a friend, that Darwin Shaw was going to be coming for Baba's birthday, and so I went to a meeting because I was working, playing music on the Saturday night when they had the Baba meeting the next day, which actually was Baba's birthday, the 25th of February in 1979. So I went they had like a brunch, just a small meeting where Darwin was going to speak privately with people. So I went to that meeting. And also on that particular day, that same day, I met my future wife, Zoe Newell, and she was there, and I met Darwin, and Darwin just really, if you've read his books or you know if you've ever met Darwin, just Baba's love just flowed through Darwin, just like one of the Mandali, and he really was one of the Western Mandali. And so I was very moved by that experience of meeting Darwin, and Adi K. Rani was coming to the Meher Center in May, and this was in February, and so I wanted to go to the Meher Center, and that was some interesting stories about that, but I'm going to skip over some things. So when I got to the Meher Center, so I could meet Audie, um, I happened to go to tea with Lynn Ott and his wife Phyllis lived on the Meher Center at the time. They had a home there, and they would have a tea. I think every Tuesday or one day a week they would have a tea, and so I went to that. And Lynn sat down next to me. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was a painter. I didn't know he had met Baba, but he asked me who I was, and I told him I'm Jamie Newell. I'm from Boston. And I said, "What's your name?" He said, "I'm Lynn Ott." I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Woodstock, New York." I said, "Woodstock, New York? Did you know my grandmother?" And he said, "What's her name?" And I told him her name was Audrey Hamilton. And he said, "Oh, she was my chiropractor." So this was in my very first day at the center. I was again astounded by this. So I said, "Did you give her this book about Meher Baba?" And he said, "No, I never talked to her about Meher Baba." But I was very moved to know that, she was a chiropractor and worked on people's bodies, and he had been in physical contact with Baba at that time. This was in the probably early 70s, probably 1970 or so, that she was his chiropractor. And but maybe even during the 60s, I don't know, because she was all through the 60s, she was there being a chiropractor. So it might have been sooner than that. So I met Audie K. Ronnie. I had really no interest in going to India, but as I was departing, Audie gave private interviews at that time. Everyone who came, if they wanted an interview with him, they could schedule a 15, 20-minute private interview. So I did that, and I was very happy to meet Audie. I just was crazy about Audie. I still am. Just such an amazing, wonderful man. Never met anyone like Audie K. Ronnie. He was really, really just a powerful speaker and so full of Baba. And as I was leaving, just to be polite, I said, "Well, maybe I'll meet you in India one day." And he said, "Come to India." And from the moment he said that, you could not keep me away. That was in May, and I was in India in November. And my first day, I was staying at the Vilu Villa. At that time, a lot of people would stay at Vilu's, which was Sarosha's home. He had passed away, but so I went to Vilu Villa, and I asked. Amrit was there. Amrit and Dara were living there at the time. And I asked Amrit, "So where is everybody today?" And she said, "Well, everybody is at Marazad." And I asked her, "How do you get there?" And she said, "Well, there's a bus that is gone, but someone is called a rickshaw. Maybe you can go with him." And so she said, "Wait a minute." She went and asked, and came back and said, "Yes, you can just go wait in the rickshaw, and this man will come out, and you can go with him." So this is my first trip to meet all the Mandali, my first trip to Marazad. I'm sitting in the rickshaw, and this man comes out and gets in, and the rickshaw takes off. And as we're bumping along, he asked me my name. He says, "Where are you from?" And I told him, and I asked him his name. I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "My name is Tom Riley." I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "Woodstock, New York." And again, I was shocked. "Woodstock, did you know my grandmother?" And he said, "Oh, she was my chiropractor." And it turned out Tom was the man who had given my grandmother this book. So this woman that I'd been so close to, and really in many ways saved my life, made it possible for me to play guitar because of all the physical therapy she did with me and everything. This man had given her Baba's book, and with him I traveled, and of course he had met Baba several times, and with him I traveled to meet the Mandali for the very first time. So Baba just has something that wouldn't have had a lot of meaning to someone else, but to me, Baba just made this very clear that he was watching over everything. And of course, I did meet the Mandali and had very, very wonderful experiences and had many wonderful opportunities to sing for all of them, and especially Mara. People always said that Mara liked music, and I know she did, but I think she liked to hear music on the porch because she was not used to getting so much attention. She was, cloistered and separated from people for so long, and to have these big groups of people gathering around and hanging on her every word and staring at her for long periods of time in big groups of people, and men and women, and she liked it if someone played music, then the attention was taken off of her and she could kind of relax a little bit. And when she would tell a story, she would pick out one person and she would talk to that person, and we could all listen in. And many times I was very blessed to that I would be the person that she would pick out to talk to, and just having a conversation like that with Mara was just like nothing else. She would when she would think about someone asked her a question about Baba, and she would remember. She would call the scene to mind. She'd close her eyes, and it was like she was transported back there. And she'd say, "Oh, Baba was wearing blue, not exactly blue, a little aqua," and she'd just absolutely describe the scene, and she would remember everything that Baba did, everything that Baba said. She was very precise about it. It was just lovely, and of course, uh, Erich and all of the Mondley were just like they treated us like family. They treated us
Sorry
like we
to
were.
interrupt. Sorry to
Yes. No, yes.
There's a request that if you can sing that song, Mera's song, now that you've spoken so much about her.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm under orders from Janice that I must sing it, so I can do that now.
If you want to, I mean, or you may
No, I'm very happy to do it. Yes,
later also.
yes. Another thing that Mara was liked, she was quite fascinated. She had never seen anybody use one of these things, the harmonica wreck, where you play the harmonica and the guitar at the same time. She was quite fascinated by that. So I hope I didn't talk too much or too fast. I just get excited talking about Baba.
Yeah, a little bit slower would be appreciated.
Sorry.
No, that's perfectly all right. We are all excited, yeah.
Mm. So I was there, and I noticed this business that. So it says the volume is poor. Does I need to be louder? Can you all hear me?
I can hear you nice and clear. Actually.
Okay.
Okay.
So I noticed that Mara was very shy, and I felt very awkward being there in Mara's presence because I could just see that she was uneasy and sometimes she'd be emotional, and she just didn't like seeing so many people around. And yet, if we didn't go, then Mara would say, "Oh, where's Jamie? Why didn't he come today?" So you had to go. The Mondley expected you to be there. If they weren't there, they thought maybe you were sick or something. Or so it was important that that we did go. And of course, I loved being there, but I also at the same time felt it was unfair to Mara. But so with that in mind, I felt like we needed to sort of excuse ourselves and explain why we were there. So that's this song just came to me, and at first I didn't even want to sing it. It was very personal, and I felt a little embarrassed to be singing this for Mara, but in the end I did, and I knew that Mara liked it because Meru Mara never asked me to sing it, but Meru would always ask me to sing it. And she told me that Mara liked the song, and so she would ask me to sing it for Mara repeatedly. So this is, I call this Mara, In What Manner Do You Love Him? Mara, in what manner do you love him, that your hold on to him is so strong? We who have just come to know him, it is for this love that we long. For of all of his lovers in creation, seems that he's closest to you. So Mara, won't you tell us how you love him, so that we might love him that way too. Well, he came as if an angel sent from heaven, but we found it rather odd to learn that this angel sent from heaven himself had turned out to be God. And a simple heart breaks when one thinks of mistakes made in a moment so weak. And so faced with this task, we now come to ask help towards this goal that we seek. So tell us, Mara, in what manner do you love him? And what makes your love so pure that there is no hardship or suffering for him that you would not endure? We who have never been with him still long for a love so true. So Mara, won't you tell us how you love him, so that we might love him that way too. Well, there's a mist on the field in the morning, but the sun comes to burn it all off, just as the mist of our clouded imaginations is removed by the warmth of his love. And we see all around his love shining down direct from the heavens above. And we grow close, but yet as close as we get, we never can get close enough. So tell us, Mara, in what manner do you love him? Though it really is not hard to tell, for we see it when you look at his picture. Your eyes seem to show us so well. And though it might be rude of us asking, really what else could we do? For Mara, if we knew how you love him, then we might love him that way too. Jai
That's
Baba.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Jimmy. Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
uh, so Jimmy, your end, the setting is on the original sound for the musicians, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, good. Was the guitar okay?
Yes, yes, it was okay. Thank you so much.
That was lovely, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Now, just one request, Ustad
Huh.
towards the end.
Okay, but you had requested that I do Walk with the King. Have you changed your mind?
No, if you have time, because I want you to talk more also.
Huh. Well, will you tell me what you like? I can do Ustad Dhanyavad, I can do Walk with the King, and I can talk. I probably would need some question if someone has a question or if there's some particular.
Yes, that is a very good idea. Anybody wants to ask questions, please feel free to do so. We have a very lazy set of audience today.
We have a hand up for Nagendra Prasad.
Ah, yeah. He wants to hear the Ustad Dhanyavad.
Ah. Okay, we'll save that for last. How's that?
Yeah.
And is it how late do we go anyways? What are we
Just
we
go.
have time.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So yeah, is there any I can just go ahead and sing, or if you had some question about anything I've already said.
Nagendra Prasad is asking, have you met Meher Baba, sir? Obviously,
No, I never.
Jai Baba, Mr.
Jai Baba.
Very, sir, it's so heart-touching your speech, really. Yeah, my heart
Thank-
already shifted to Mehrabad from Andhra Pradesh, India.
Jai Baba.
Really, sir. So the music can take us to God. That is one thing. Sir, have you seen Meher Baba while he was in human form?
No, I had not that pleasure. No, sir.
Oh,
I
no,
came
but,
in 1979. Baba had been
Oh.
gone for 10 years.
So 4 years elder than me, 4 years senior. I came in 1990, he came 1987. Right. Really, sir. Great, sir, great. So, really, sir, really, it is a heart-touching. I shall thank Sam to arrange a meeting with you. Yeah, Jai Baba, sir. Please continue.
Jai Baba. Thank you.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Anyone? Now, I just noticed the name Havovi is on. Havovi actually, a lot of people don't know this. Havovi might not even know this, but she actually helped me write Ustad Dhanyavad.
Oh, really?
Because while I was singing it, and I would sing Zoroaster Dhanyavad, and I would sing it doesn't really sound right when I say Zoroaster. There's too many syllables. Zoroaster Dhanyavad. She said, "Why don't you just say Zartosh?" So I don't know any Persian, but I learned Zartosh from Havovi, so now that's in the song. I wanted to make sure she heard that. So if there's no question, I'll just go ahead and sing "Walk with the King." What about that? Is that all right?
That's great.
Okay.
Just a moment. Before you start off with the song, the reason why I requested you for the song is I have great memories of this song. Of Bombay Center's Baba Lover had lost his grandfather, and this young man got up and sang this song at the funeral, which was so appropriate. I walk with the King Meher Baba, sort of a thing, like his grandfather's soul was going away with Meher Baba. So that is what has stayed in my head. And Havovi says, Jai Baba, dearest Jamie.
I see your note. Yeah, thank you, Havovi. Jai Baba. Yes, very happy to see you here. Yeah, so I only know "Walk with the King" from Ted. Of course, I learned it from Ted. I'd never even heard it before till Ted did it, and he's my old friend from many, many years now. And matter of fact, just it was in July, early July, at the Prakash and Sally Durham had a housewarming, and I sang "Walk with the King" with Ted at their housewarming. So I'll do it again now. In sorrow I wander, my spirit oppressed, but now I am happy, securely I rest. From morning till evening, glad carols I sing, and this is the reason I walk with the King. I walk with the King, Meher Baba. I walk with the King, praise his name. No longer I roam, my soul faces home. I walk and I talk with the King. For years in the fetters of sin I was bound. The world could not help me, no comfort I found. But now, like the birds sing, and the sunbeams of spring, I'm free and rejoicing. I walk with the King. I walk with the King, Meher Baba. I walk with the King, praise his name. No longer I roam, my soul faces home. I walk and I talk with the King. O soul near despair, in the lowlands of strife, look up and let Baba come into your life. The joy of his love to you he will bring. Step into the sunlight and walk with the King. I walk with the King, Meher Baba. I walk with the King, praise his name. No longer I roam, my soul faces home. I walk and I talk with the King. I walk and I talk with the King.
Thank you, sir. That was lovely.
Jai Baba.
Mayor,
Yes.
go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, James.
Yes.
When you met Mera, how was your feeling?
It was just, I mean, at first it was just like normal, just like meeting anybody.
Yeah.
I was a little shy, and I mean, I knew much about Mara, but spending time around her, suddenly you noticed that there's something very different about
Okay.
about this person, and there was there's really only two other occasions that the feeling being around Mara, at time after time, there was just this feeling of it's not even describable, just almost like a fragrance, a permeation of some sort of love thing. And the only other time I'd felt that is around Darwin Shaw's wife Jean. Had a very similar. We get a very similar feeling from Jean, just quiet love. And also, I had the privilege a couple times of bathing Muhammad the Must, and also with Muhammad the Must when he would be happy and laughing. There's nothing like one time Mara was. Baba would send Mara to the movies when they were at Guru Prasad. He didn't want to go out, but he would send her and say, "No, I want you to see the movie and then describe it to me when you come back." So Mara took this very seriously, and she clearly memorized everything in the movie. She kept it in her mind, and I know this because one day she, for one reason or another, I don't know why, but she remembered this Laurel and Hardy movie. Something made her laugh. and she sat there, and I was fortunate on that occasion to be the person that she was speaking to. There was a big group there, but she would look at me and she was talking to me,
Okay.
and she just started describing. She said Baba had told us to go see this movie. It was Laurel and Hardy, and she said, and the name of the movie was Saps at Sea. And just to hear that Mara say the word "saps at sea" was just very funny to me, and so I laughed, and then she laughed, and then she would. The more she thought about it, then she was told in detail. She told me the entire movie. I mean, probably not the whole movie, but many details. And you know, this is exactly what she had told Baba, and so she remembered. She closed her eyes and she was remembering, but she would laugh, and I would laugh, and this I can't even describe the she was so happy and I was so happy, and it just this joy was like none I've ever experienced before or since. It was just an amazing thing, and it was just something. It was like Baba was happy because she was happy. It was just so. On the one hand, she was a very normal person in the sense of being very down to earth and very. She would get very cross with people if they were too. Someone called her Mara Mai once, and she said, "Who told you to call me that? I'm Mara. I'm not Mara Mai. I'm not a mother." And she got very cross with them. Another time, Nanakar's brother was coming. There's a big crowd of people. We had almost like bleachers around the porch at that time, and the people were kind of hovering over, watching Mara.
Okay.
And Nanakar's brother was coming, and people didn't know that Nanakar had a brother, and they were happy to meet him. And so when he started to come across the compound, someone in the back said, "Oh, it's Nanakar's brother." It's not, and suddenly everybody in the group started whispering, "Oh, it's Nanakar's brother." And then someone said, "Mara, it's Nanakar's brother." And Mara said, "Well, what do you want me to do? Stand up and salute him?" So she was a very normal
Oh, nice.
person. Yeah, she was very charming and very sweet, but very, profoundly sensitive. And as long as everybody was focused 100% on Baba, she was happy. And when people would ask her just extraneous, silly things and sometimes really inappropriate things, she was not happy. And then, and then I inadvertently, my wife Zoe and I had moved to Tennessee. We'd never been to Tennessee before, and so we wanted to go to the places that Baba had been. And we knew that Mara and Monty and everybody had been to Tennessee when they were here in 1952. And so we got some, and we knew that they liked honey, so we got some Tennessee honey, and it said on the label Tennessee honey, and we brought it. And and I could tell something was wrong. It was not, memories of Tennessee were not a great thing, and I didn't understand why. And then Monty later explained that they had no happy memories of Tennessee because however happy that trip was, and it was happy at the first part, but of course then it ended up with the accident in Prague. And of course, being an idiot, I didn't even think of that, but it was just a disaster for them. It was horrible watching Baba suffer like that, and then Mara nearly died. The doctor thought that she should have died. He thought it was a miracle that she had survived it because her skull had been crushed in. She still had it, even at those days. She had just a small indentation and a scar in her forehead. So we made mistakes like that, and the atmosphere would change. But she was unbelievably gracious. And I remember some of my fondest memories of Mara would be that after we would stay those days at 6 o'clock, and at about 5:45 or so, or they were. Mara knew perfectly well, but they would set the clocks ahead, so she would start leaving early because she would stay and talk to people, and very often she'd start to leave and then she'd start talking to me, and the horn would be blowing, and people would say, "Come on, Jamie, you have to come, you have to come," and I was like, you guys can go to hell. I'm standing here watching with Mara. I'm not going anywhere until Mara's done. And then she would laugh and be smile, and then eventually she would go, and then I would leave. But no way I was gonna. I don't care how many buses were waiting. I'm gonna stay with Mara, and it was a very sweet time.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a great memories to be reminded of.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to leave. I'm so sorry. I have to join Baba Zoom. It's
nice
coming
to
from Myrtle Beach,
see.
yeah, because today's Prakash is hosting, so I have to be there.
Prakash, really? Prakash Dharam?
Yeah.
Oh, please give him my love, Jai Baba.
Sure, I will. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Jai Baba. So, Dilshad Kapadia has the hand up.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
I'm just a little intrigued by the painting or the frame that is there in the backdrop. It
The
looks
frame in
like
the back?
it looks like an Indian god or some
Well,
such thing.
there's a hanging. It's actually a piece of cloth, and it's Arjuna bowing before Krishna. I think Krishna has revealed his his divine self to Arjuna, and Arjuna is overwhelmed. So I think that's what that
Thank you.
is depicting. Yeah, that was my wife's. And that below that is a picture of my wife sitting in the lotus position beneath this carving of Shiva from the Elephanta Caves. That was her favorite picture of herself sitting there in a yoga position. She taught yoga and wrote a couple of yoga books, and she was very happy when we went to Elephanta, and I got that picture of her there. And that was her hanging that she liked very much. That it's just a piece of cloth with that print on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other thoughts or questions, or should I close with this Dhanyavad, or are you ready for more? Or
Jimmy Khan, any questions from you, sir?
Jimmy Khan has answers. He only has answers, no questions. Jai Baba, Jimmy.
Seems to be observing silence today.
This must be when Baba said something would happen that had never happened before, that must be what he's talking about. Jimmy observing silence. Just that you want me to sing just, okay, yes, I'm singing just Dhanyavad whenever you like. Is there something?
Jimmy's parent just money from Toronto. Is there any other Baba story or Mera money Eretz story you would like to please share? I have no questions, but I would love to hear. Thank you. Jai Baba.
Well, let me think. Probably my favorite Mandali was of course Mera. Mera's in a whole different category. Mera's just a different category from even Mandali. I think even the Mandali were in awe of Mera. Certainly they. Well, one thing comes to mind, which isn't even a story that I heard it from someone directly, but Mani was such an extraordinary human being, and she when Baba passed, when Baba dropped his body, her orders from Baba were to take care of Mera and support Mera and be there for Mera, and she did that exquisitely. There's this very moving, almost biblical picture of Mera in the Samadhi, and Mera's grieving, and Mani's there smiling and trying to support Mera and trying to encourage her. But Mani suffered at least as much as Mera did at the loss of her brother, who she adored so much, and who was her god brother, as she called him. And so a friend of mine, many of you may know Vesta Clinton, who lived with the Lady Mandali for many years in the early 70s, shared beds with the ladies. They would kind of bunk together because there was not that much room in Merazad, and she was very close to all of them. And when she heard that Mera was passing, it was imminent that she was going to pass. She got on a plane and rushed to Merazad. And she got there late. Mera had already passed when she got there. But she said she was crossing the compound to go and meet the ladies. And Mani saw her. And, of course, they had been very close for many, many years. And Mani just fell Vesta was a big woman. And Mani just fell into Vesta's arms and wept and wept and wept and wept and wept. And the thing was, Mani never got a chance to grieve her loss of Baba. And now she was grieving both Mera and Baba at the same time, because now finally she could kind of express that grief, because Baba would tell her not to show any emotion around Mera because they didn't want to trigger Mera and get Mera upset. So she had held that in for all those years, and just finally kind of let it all out with Vesta. So that, for some reason, that popped in my head because I just so admire and love Mani, and just there's another one who there's just no one like her. But my favorite just as a man, just the most powerful man I ever met was Adi K. Rani, and he. I was just in awe of Adi, and so we're staying at Vilu's. This is my very first trip. Adi passed away before I went back, and I was at Vilu's, and of course Vilu was married to Adi's cousin Sarosha. They were very close. They came to Baba together, and she had invited Adi to dinner, and we all ate in this big room at Vilu Villa, and suddenly Adi appears at dinner, and I was just so excited, and this was before she said that Adi was coming, and I was practically like a little kid, just Adi's coming. What? Oh, how did you get? I said, how did you get Adi to come to dinner? And she looked at me like I was an idiot and said, "But I just invited him. Like he's my brother-in-law, not brother-in-law, but they were very close." And so when Adi came, she really tried to humiliate me, and she was saying, "Adi, this man must sit next to you. This man loves you so much. He must sit next to you." And it was just very sweet. It was embarrassing for me, but it was just very sweet to be able to sit with Adi and ask him questions and talk with him. And then afterwards, Nargish Dadachandji was also there, and I had played Mara's song for the late. This was my first trip, and I had just written that song, and they liked it, and they wanted me to sing it for Adi. So that's the only time because Adi, usually I would sing at Marazad, and Adi didn't go to Marazad very much. I would see him every Friday. He would give a talk at the Ahmednagar Center every Friday, and so I would see him there. But he never came to Marazad, so I never sang for him. And so Nargish said, no, you must sing Mara's song for Adi. So I went out on the porch at Vilu Villa and sang this, and Adi liked it very much. And he said he liked it because with most Americans, he said, you can't understand the words that they say. But he said, but I said the words very clearly. So he was very happy that he could understand the words, and he liked the words. So that was just a happy moment for me, because I just adored Adi. I have hundreds of hours of Adi talking, and I never tire of listening to him talk about Baba. He's such a brilliant theologian, and such a just warm. He was all about conviction, and I don't know anybody had more conviction in Baba than Adi. So that's one story that really was just a happy one for me. I was very fortunate with my wife, Zoe, who passed away just a couple of years ago, was very close to Darwin's wife, Jean. And Jean suffered a lot. She had a lot of ailments and a very, very difficult life, very difficult time. And we were told, we went with Oliba one time, Zoe and I went with Oliba to Andhra, that Oliba and Rhoda and Jal and Dolly, a lot of people went with Oliba. But while we were there in Andhra, we piled into a car. They were taking us somewhere. There were thousands of people at this. They were opening a new center, and a big crush of people. And we piled into this car. And there was this man, Dr. Barucha, who we had never met before. We didn't know him. And we started talking. He said, "Who are you? What's your connection to Baba?" And Zoe mentioned that she was close to Darwin and Jean. And Dr. Barucha said, "Darwin and Jean, they're in the 120. And Zoe was a little surprised. She said, "Well, how do you know?" And he said, "I have a list. You're not on it." But it turns out Baba had given him a list of who were in the 120, and Darwin and Jean were both were in the 120. But so I tell you this because she was very close to Jean, and because she was very close to Jean, when they were going on their what turned out to be their last trip to India in 1982, and Jean particularly invited Zoe. We were married by that time, and she invited Zoe to go with them because she knew Zoe, was close to her and would know how to take care of her and help her. She anticipated a difficult time being in India and the travel and everything. So we traveled with them to India, and just seeing her, Jean and Mara just were very sweet together, and Mara was very sweet with Jean. It was Jean's birthday while we were there, and I have some lovely pictures of Jean and Mara together, and you could tell Jean loved Mara very much, and Mara loved Jean very much, and so they were very close. And also while we were there, Francis Brabazon was there, and I had never met Francis Brabazon, and Jean and Darwin were very close to Francis Brabazon, so we got to spend a little time with him. And I got to sing, actually. It was one of those big programs in Mondley Hall at Marizod, and all the Mondley were there. And, all the Lady Mondley and Erich, and this was after Audie had passed. Of course, he wasn't there. But I think Bao was there also, and Francis Brabazon was there. And so there's a program, different people would do things, and I sang some songs. I Sing a Song of Meher Baba and some other songs. And as when we would do that, it was kind of like near Baba's chair would be like the stage, and you would kind of exit. And I think I'd left some things inside, so I was going, after the program, I was going inside, and right at the threshold, as I was going in, Francis Brabazon was coming out, and he stopped me, and he told me that he liked my songs, and that just was a thrill for me to have the great poet tell me that he liked I think he particularly liked Sing a Song of Meher Baba. So we had a lovely trip. Darwin gave 2 amazing talks on Mehrabad Hill, because people had told Mansari about Darwin and about his talking about Baba, and so he wanted to meet Darwin and hear him tell stories about Baba, so he gave 2 talks. And I have recordings of those talks if people are interested. They're really lovely talks. The first one was about their meeting of Baba, and the other one was about his experiences right there on that hill during the 3 incredible weeks. And there's so many, just countless stories about just sweet, sweet, sweet behavior of the Mondley towards all of us. I mean, I wasn't special in that regard. They just treated us all like we were nieces and nephews and family members, and I can tell you my own family did not treat me anywhere near as warmly or as nicely as the Mondley did. Goher in particular was very, I mean, I shared with her my experiences in the hospital and different issues about that, and she was very interested and concerned and just so warm and so sweet. Could go on and on about how wonderful they were. Sometimes young people get impatient with us when we talk about how wonderful the Mondley were, but they really, really were. We were very fortunate. So someone asked about the recordings. If you send me an email, I'll be happy to send you the links to the Darwin recordings. It's my email is james.r.newell, Newell, @gmail.com. So happy to send you the Darwin talks. They're really wonderful. Like to spread Darwin's sweet love for Baba with everybody. Well, I'm happy to ramble on like this or sing Ustad Dhanyavad, whatever you would prefer.
Before we do that, there's a gentleman here, or Mr. Pervez, he would like to ask a question.
Yes, sir.
So,
can you speak up a little bit? I'm having trouble hearing.
so I just want to know more about the writings from America.
I'm not. Did anyone else hear that? Because I'm not hearing what the question is.
We can't hear him either.
Wants to know if any celebrities have visited Myrtle Beach.
Oh, celebrities. Not that I know. Well, there's a woman. There's a man who I don't know if you know Mara and Buck Busfield. Their brother Tim, Buck's brother Tim Busfield has done many TV shows. He was on. I can't remember the names of the shows, but he's been on a lot of TV shows, and he's married to a woman who used to be on a show called Little House on the Prairie. And her name is escaping me at the moment too. But they're the only celebrities I know of who've come to. I mean, I know people have said in the past. Pete Townsend had been at the center, but he hasn't. I don't think he's been there recently. But I know, or I intuitively know, at various times when the center, during the COVID and different times when there have been financial problems with various centers. mysteriously they're rescued by someone with a lot of money, and my intuition tells me that Pete Townsend has been very generous with the center, but I haven't seen him. I know other people who saw him there and in India.
It was the same with the London Center as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so yeah, whatever else is going on there, he certainly has been so. I'm deeply grateful to the support he's given to the trust and to the Meher Center and other places.
Did you ever get a chance to sing with any of the famous groups?
Well, when I was young, I played with a lot of people won't know these people, but they were famous in the blues world. I played with a lot of African American blues musicians, and many of you won't know who they are, but I played with a man named Big Joe Turner, who had a big hit song with Shake, Rattle, and Roll back in the 1950s, and I played with John Lee Hooker and Buddy Guy and Junior Wells, and a lot of kind of more obscure, but in the blues world, famous, known people. Yeah, I had good fortune to do a lot of that, but not. We used to open for a man named Muddy Waters, and I played with the band after a man named Howlin' Wolf passed away. I played in his band. His band kept working, and Junior Wells was the front singer during that tour. But again, most of you won't have heard of those people, but they were famous in the blues. People who follow African American blues music, they were famous.
Hey, can we get the Ustad?
Sorry?
Can we get
Ustad Dhanyavad? You ready for Ustad Dhanyavad? Okay. Well, I want to thank you, Sam, and thank you, Janice, and everybody. I saw Ram Nouri, and I missed you, Ram, at Mehrabad.
I know. I went there just after you left.
Ah, well, nice to see you now, or not see you, but hear your voice. Jai Baba to everybody. Thank you for having me. It's always a privilege to do anything for Baba, and we're all very fortunate even to know his name. So when you are grateful to someone, you say that. Now, I should tell you a little story about this song, because I know no Hindi. And this is kind of a Baba miracle. This was in 1985. My wife Zoe and I had been to India several times, but we never learned much Hindi. We thought we should learn Hindi. We'd love to be able to move to Mehrabad and spend more time. So we thought we should learn Hindi. So we got these tapes that would teach you how to speak Hindi. And now I'd heard the word Ustad from a recording by Bao Kalchuri. He had giving a talk on this recording, and during the talk he gets into some conversation with Baba, and he questions Baba, and Baba said, "How can you question me? I am Ustad." And in the talk, Bao says Ustad means master. So it stayed in my mind that Ustad means master. And we got these tapes, and on these tapes there's the word Dhanyavad was used to say thank you. If you're going to say thank you, you say Dhanyavad. So those are the only two words that stayed with me, and they rhymed, so I put them in a song. And here it goes. Ustad Dhanyavad, 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 Ustad Dhanyavad. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Ahuramas Dhanyavad, Ahuramas Dhanyavad, Ahuramas Dhanyavad, Ahuramas Dhanyavad. Zartosh Dhanyavad, Zartosh Dhanyavad, Zartosh Dhanyavad, Zartosh Dhanyavad. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Buddha Dhanyavad, Buddha Dhanyavad, Buddha Dhanyavad, Buddha Dhanyavad. Jesus Dhanyavad, Jesus Dhanyavad, Jesus Dhanyavad, Jesus Dhanyavad. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Shri Ram Dhanyavad, Shri Ram Dhanyavad, Shri Ram Dhanyavad, Shri Ram Dhanyavad. Krishna Dhanyavad, Krishna Dhanyavad, Krishna Dhanyavad, Krishna Dhanyavad. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Muhammad Dhanyavad, Muhammad Dhanyavad, Muhammad Dhanyavad, Muhammad Dhanyavad. Allah Dhanyavad, Allah Dhanyavad, Allah Dhanyavad, Allah Dhanyavad. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Ustad Dhanyavad, 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 Ustad Dhanyavad. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Oh Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher, Dhanyavad Meher. Jai Baba. So, I should mention that that I played that song from Mara, and Mara liked it, and she said that Dhanyavad was a particularly good. I didn't know that, of course, because I didn't know anything about Hindi, but she said that Dhanyavad literally translated means you are worthy of praise, and because it was you are worthy of praise, it was a good word to use for Baba. So that's all Baba's grace, because it. I just happened to be the only words I knew, and they rhymed. And I owe a lot to Ted Judson, because when I first did this, people liked it all right, but Ted, after I left, Ted kept playing it and playing it and playing it, and that's how it became very popular. So thank you all for having me.
We're not going to let you go so easy.
No? Okay.
You have any more stories to tell us?
Any more stories? Well, nothing comes to, you'd have to ask a question that would prompt me, because nothing's coming to mind. I mean, I think I've told you, nothing.
I wonder why Jimmy Khan is so quiet today.
Must be his computer is broken.
No, I'm around right from day one. I've been here. I've been hearing you, and Jimmy, I hear your videos regularly. You team up with Jim Myers. I love those. Yeah, I love those videos. I see them regularly.
Oh, good. Well, Thank you. We're going to do, by the way, people who want to, of course, it's at a bad time, I know, for India. Sometimes I do it earlier, but I do a Zoom twice a week. I do, twice a month. I do a little concert with Jim Meyer. Jim does 3 songs almost every single time. He's been a very sweet friend. And we do that on Sundays at 2:30 p.m. our time, but I think that's pretty late in the early morning hours for you all, 1:30 in the morning or something in India. But I thank you, Jimmy. So, Jimmy, you have more stories than I.
Thank you. And I've met you personally. I met Jim
Yes.
Meyer, but on different talk tours. In 2016, I met you at the
Narshwin's, yeah,
Globe function, Golden Jubilee.
yeah, yeah. The is Narshwin's 70th glow anniversary, something like that. Yeah.
60.
60th. Okay, 60th. Yeah. I think he's on 70th now, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, should in 26.
Yeah. So nice to hear your voice again. I hope you'll come to the States again sometime. We need more speakers at the Meher Center who have met Baba. We're running low on them.
Could be in June, July.
Oh, good. Great. Except I'll be in June, July. I'll be in India. I'll be at Mehrabad for the young adult Sahavas. So I'll miss you. So yeah, no, I'm sure I have other stories, but it's well, I mean, just when I arrived, I'll tell you one story that tells you something about Erich, which is that same day I was describing my coming with Tom Riley. I'm in the rickshaw and we get to Merazad, and I was very, it was a very new experience for me. Obviously, never been to Merazad, never met any of the Mandali, except for, I'd met Kitty and Elizabeth, and I met Adi K. Irani when he was in the West, but other than that, no Indian Mandali. And I stumbled into, my friend Steve Klein was there, and he was explaining to me, showing me this is Mandali Hall, come on, I'll take you in and you meet Erich. So I walked into Mandali Hall, and it was very bright. The sun was very bright, so it was very hard to see when I walked into Mandali Hall. My eyes were getting adjusted to the light, and I was feeling very emotional. He showed me Baba's chair, and I didn't know what to do. And I was just, and Erich started talking, and I could see that something was going on between Steve and Erich. They were communicating something, and I didn't know what was going on because I couldn't quite see and I couldn't understand what they were saying. And I was, as I said, I was feeling emotional, and Erich said, "Why don't you take Jamie over to Baba's room, let him sit there and compose himself?" And so he said, "Okay." So I walked to the end of my, how you go in Mandali Hall in the front door, and I walked to the end, and Steve took me to the end of the hall, and then he said to me, "I'm going to have to go back and get my shoes," because I'd taken off my shoes when I came in, and he said, "What Erich was saying to me, I was going to tell you to take off your shoes." I had walked into Mandali Hall with my shoes on. I didn't know you were supposed to take off your shoes. It didn't even occur to me. I was not used to to doing that. And so I'd walked right into Mandali Hall with my shoes on. And Steve wanted to stop me and say, "No, no, no, get out, get out, get out, take your shoes off." And Erich said, "No, no, no, don't do that. Just let him, be here." And Erich didn't want my first impression of being in Mandali Hall being, scolded for wearing my shoes. So he let me walk, through Mandali Hall with my shoes on, and Steve went back and got his shoes. But it just shows you how Erich was far more concerned about someone's feelings and about how their experience with Baba than he was about the rules about don't walk with you. And clearly I shouldn't have had my shoes on in there, but I didn't know that was the right thing to do, to take off your shoes. So that's just it's something that stayed with me about Erich, that he was just so kind and so sweet, because it not only would it have been upsetting to me if I'd been told, to go out and take off your shoes, but also instead it's left me with this sweet memory of him being so thoughtful. So yeah, and then when I did go, yeah, exactly, it does show what Erich, just what such a thoughtful and kind person. And the thing about always with the Mandali, I could tell that they were kind and they were sweet and they were generous and thoughtful and warm. But all of these things you could just tell were things that they learned from Baba. They observed Baba being this way, and they were just trying to be like Baba. And they, of course, they did a marvelous job. And the other impression I got from the Mandali was that they were always aware. It was like they were aware that at any moment Baba could come in and scold them. So they were always acting as if Baba was going to come in at any moment. They were trying to behave in the way that they knew Baba would want us to behave if he was there. So anyways, Steve got me got his shoes and took me over to Baba's room, and I sat there for a while. And while I was in Baba's room, I could hear some sound out on the porch, and that it turned out that had been Mara had come out. While I was in there, Mara had come out, and so that was the first time I saw Mara. I was just too shy and embarrassed to kind of go in and up and introduce myself. I just kind of walked past because I was just very disoriented and emotional and trying to take it all in. And the first time I sang for Mara, this is an interesting story too. I had been to the Samadhi a couple of times for Arti. At that time, we didn't stay at Mehrabad. If we wanted to go to Arti, we'd get up very early in the morning and get a rickshaw from Vilus to Mehrabad. But I've been to Arti a couple of times, and I sang at Arti. And at that time, Jimmy and Rhoda Mystery were living at Mehrabad. And I noticed that Jimmy, particularly, I had a song, an old gospel song called "I Don't Care Where They Bury My Body." And I would sing that, and that because most of the Westerners would sing these very quiet, sweet songs, and I played these rowdy blues and gospel songs that were kind of loud and more like Kawali and more like very active with a fast rhythm and that kind of thing. So Jimmy Mystery really liked "Don't Care Where They Bury My Body," and he would say, Jimmy, sing "I Don't Care Where They Drop My Body." And so I would sing that for him. So I thought, well, so now it came time to sing for Mara. I was at Marazad. I had my guitar. Someone said, "Oh, Jamie, why don't you sing for Mara?" And there weren't very many people there at all. And so I said, okay. And I sat, there's those stairs over at the side, and I sat on the stairs. And people were concerned because typically, particularly when Westerners would sing for Baba, sing for Mara, they would sing very low. They didn't have very loud voices, and they didn't project. And Mara didn't have good hearing, so she couldn't hear them. So someone took they have those little straw ottoman things, and someone took one and put it right in front of Mara. And so, why don't you sit here and sing for Mara so she can hear you? And again, I just did what people told me. So I said, okay. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, well, everybody seemed to like "I Don't Care Where They Bury My Body," so I'll sing that for Mara. Maybe she'll like that. And again, it's a very loud gospel song, really strong rhythm, and I really shouted out. So I'm sitting right in front of Mara, just a couple feet away from Mara, and I'm bellowing out this gospel song, and Mara was kind of like, she didn't know what had hit her. And David Fenster was sitting next to Mara. He would come early at those days, and he would record Mara, and this is where the book, the 3-volume Mara Meher came from, was him going every morning when Marazad was open. He'd go early before the groups came, and he would sit with Mara, and he would record her and ask her, chronologically ask her stories about her life with Baba. And most of, aside from other interviews with people, that's where a lot of the book Mara Meher comes from. So he was sitting there next to Mara. And he after I'd kind of bellowed at Mara, he said, "Jamie, for your next song, maybe you should sit back over on." So they sent me back over on the steps, but it was kind of humorous because Mara, she liked it, but she was not expecting me to be quite as loud and rowdy as I was. So as someone says, "What's the first Baba book you read?" In the first book, as I'd said, I found the discourses in a bookstore, and yeah, that was the first book, and they still are transformed. I could still read them through many times, and I always read the 3-volume discourses. I like the 3-volume ones, and every time you read any discourse, you get something new. I do, anyways. I get something new out of it just because it's they're so rich and so deep, and you have different questions in your mind, you're in a different place in your life. When you read a discourse, then you just think about it differently, and so they're like living testaments to me. They're living and breathing. The presence of Baba lives and breathes through his discourses. I find I can still get so much from them.
Okay, Jamie. One final odd request. Yes. Can you
What's the odd?
Can you do that song? The one that you did in front of Mera, this loud one.
Yeah, I can do that. I haven't done it in a while. I may make some mistakes.
Nice and lively, and before we get to Aarti and prayer and all that.
Yes. So someone says, "Have you read God Speaks?" Yes. I've read the main body. I haven't read all of the supplement, but Baba said there was the main body you should read. And someone says, "What do you do professionally?" I teach. I teach courses on Carl Jung, Jungian psychology, and I do some counseling and coaching things. So here we go. I'm going to try. Haven't done this in a while. Well, I don't care where they bury my body. No, I don't care where they bury my body, Lord. I don't care where they bury my body, 'cause my soul's gonna be with God, be with God. Well, I'm going down to the river. I'm gonna stick my sword in the sand. I'm gonna shout all my troubles are over, 'cause I've made it to the promised land. God knows I don't care where they bury my body. No, I don't care where they bury my body, Lord. I don't care where they bury my body, 'cause my soul's gonna be with God, be with God. Yes, meet me, Jesus, meet me. Well, meet me in the middle of the air. Yes, and if my wings should fail me, Lord, please meet me with another pair. God knows I don't care where they bury my body. No, I don't care where they bury my body, Lord. I don't care where they bury my body, 'cause my soul's gonna be with God, be with God. Well, I'm going down to the river. I'm gonna stick my sword in the sand. I'm gonna shout all my troubles are over, 'cause I've made it to the promised land. God knows I don't care where they bury my body. No, I don't care where they bury my body, Lord. I don't care where they bury my body, 'cause my soul's gonna be with God. Jai Baba.
You sure took me back of decades of my life when I used to enjoy this kind of music. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Baba.
Loved it.
Okay.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Jai Baba.
Okay. Anybody wants to ask any more questions, or can we now break into prayer and Aarti? Okay. Just one last favor. Jamie, whenever you feel like, it's an open invitation, whenever you feel like coming on this group and sharing some more of your Baba stories, just give us a shout and we'll put you on.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a kind invitation. Thank you. It's a pleasure being with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. O Parvardegar, the preserver and protector of all. You are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible, and none can see you but with eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere. You are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future. And you are knowledge itself. You are all merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parmeshwar. You are the beyond God and the beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Ilahi, Yazdan, Ahura Mazda, and God the Beloved. You are named Desert, the only one worthy of worship. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most especially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most especially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruin to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us. and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Avtar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
बुझावे नार चलत नीर कर खुद रत्न फरमा तू छलागी आश भक्तों ने के बख्शे नूरे मातू अयामुर शाद मेहर बाबा चरण पर तुझ न धरिए सर खुदाना जात थी वाकिफ थई बै तो मेहर बातू तू छे माँ लिख हकीकत नो तो आशिक बीने आरिफ भी तुझे दरी याए वहदत मारिफत नो हो ही तूफातू हमोर रब ने सालिक बख्शे ज्ञान सदनु के तू पर महात्मा ज्ञानी छने मुख तारेर फातू खुदाना प्रेम नो प्यालो पिलावी मस्त हमने कर छे तुझ पर जान सदके साखिया पीद पैमा तू हमारी नाव भर दरिए तरावे तो हमें तरिए हमारा ना खुदा मेहर बाबा छनिगे बातू हमारा ना खुदा मेहर बाबा छनिगे बातू बुझावे नार जलतनी कर खुद रत्न फरमा तू छलागी आश भक्तों ने की बख्शे नूरे मातू अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय। O glorious eternal ancient one, your face is a bright transcendental sun. Lighten this dark world and the tears I weep. My heart meher I give to you to keep. Creator yet creationless you are. Truth and truth's body, divine avatar, who through compassion the three worlds maintains, destroy this ignorance that life sustains. These five lights are the whirling spokes of breath, of the whirlwheel that bears me on to death. Unless you who are infinitely kind break the wheels of which is conditioned mine. This incense is my love, these fruits my art, which to please you I have shaped from my heart. Accept them as you would a simple flower that has no use beyond its shining guard. You are myself, I sing to you in praise, and beg your love to bear me through the days, till you, the ever-living perfect one, illume my darkness with your shining sun. अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय. अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय. अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय. अवतार मेहर बाबा की जय.
Thank you, everybody. Hope you've all enjoyed this session. We shall now disperse only to come back and meet again and spend some time with Baba next Thursday. Same place, same time. Jai Baba.